What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 170. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me today, it's a new year, but it's the same crew. Welcome, my teammates, Mr. Peyton Burton. First show in a while, by the way. And then Michael DeRosa from the Road to the Garden and Ding and DeRosa podcast. We will also be joined here in a little bit by fellow Road to the Garden reporter, Sarah Kiernan. I hope I pronounced your last name right. She'll set me straight if I didn't. But fellas, it's a new year. Happy New Year 2024. Anything exciting last night? I know Peyton got a little wild and crazy.
A little wild was an understatement. My ass was giggling all night, and I never giggle. So if that tells you anything, then I had a blast last night just playing Fortnite with some of my homies, listening to some music, and just basically chilling out, watching the Packers beat the living shit out of the Vikings. We got the Bears next. We get the Bears next, and hopefully we beat the shit out of them because we own them like we always do. Other than that, I've been chilling. I haven't been on the show in a while. That's just nobody's fault but my own. I've been busy doing a lot of shit outside of like trying to watch college basketball and do this podcast and Facebook group and all this other shit. So I've been very busy. Hopefully, I can hop on a lot sooner, a lot more with the new year. But, it's good to be on the show. I'm here with my brother, Josh Burton, the head of the table. If no one else is going to acknowledge him, I'll acknowledge him since he's my brother. He does a lot of hard work. So congratulations to him. And it's good to be here with Michael DeLaRosa, the genital herpy himself. So what's up, Michael? It's good to see you again, man.
Okay, I see how it is. I forgot about football yesterday. I honestly forgot football happened yesterday. I was up late, literally doing fucking nothing. I did nothing. But you bring up football, and then it's like the only thing that pops into my head is FanDuel had this promo for like an SGP. Like if you bet this much for every like touchdown scored, you get like 50 cents back or whatever. I played a 3-legger. 2 legs hit with ease. Not even fucking close. It was beautiful. Then the third leg, Austin Eckler over 46.5 rushing yards. You want to take a guess with how many rushing yards?
46.
46.
That's
half a yard. I can't even get a stat correction. Like, come on, man. I've lost so many heartbreakers. I went and did like my full year in review. It was like, yeah, that's tough. Man, I lost so many heartbreakers, but it was a fun year. But this year's going to be better because I'm here with you two idiots.
So the funny thing about that is over this holiday break, and by the way, this is our first show. We decided to take the holidays off. Hope you guys enjoyed Christmas. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve last night and then a great start to your 2024 today. Listening at us talk some college basketball and other shit. But I had 2 heartbreakers myself. Before we get into college basketball, everybody's here about. So the last week I bet Premier League soccer. Manchester United was playing Aston Villa, and I bet it'd be a draw. I bet the 2 goal scorers, one from United was Garnacho. He got a goal. John McGinn from Aston Villa got a goal. I hit the 2 hardest things. Villa had United down 2-0 at halftime. United rallies back 2-2. I thought, hell yeah, because it was only a $1 bet, but it was going to pay out like $300. Yeah. United scores 81st minute to win 3-2. Breaks my heart. Then you go to Saturday, Kentucky's bowl game, or Friday, Kentucky's bowl game. I had a 6-legger. Barium Brown, 2 touchdowns, like all this stuff, right? I hit all of them, but I needed Kentucky to win, which they ultimately did not. And I needed the running back to have over 70 yards, and he had 65 or 64. That would have been another like $300-$400 parlay. So I'm with you, man. I've had some terrible beats. I'm hoping 2024 is much better for us. And we're sorry, Peyton. We're live right now on the Twitter, on the YouTube, and on the Facebook. Connor McCabe, our guy, it's been with us for a long time, says, "What's up, fellas? I've been trying to get into the job market, which is a monster in itself, and soccer season just took a whole lot of me since MLS Cup." Dude, it's a lot, bro. It is a lot. And Peyton, I'll let you get to your point, but as always, of course, this podcast is presented in part with the House College Hoops. Head over to our site, house-enterprise.com for more information. Peyton, what were you going to say before we actually talk about some college basketball, which is what everybody's here for today.
Well, while we're on the topic of betting, I don't bet at all just because I'm not too educated on it and I really don't give a shit to bet, to be honest. And I damn sure won't bet on my team. So, Josh, you made a mistake there. And also, why the hell would you bet on Manchester United? They suck. So, I don't know why you do that in the first place.
They pulled it back 2-2. Yeah. I just needed the last 15 minutes, the goalless, which they've been really good about. Mm-hmm. And then, of course,
Yeah,
whatever.
I hear you. It sounds good. But, while on the topic of betting, one of mine and my brother's close friend, Tyler Cook, used to be on the show, big Jayhawk fan, Rock Chalk. He was talking, me and him was playing Fortnite last night, and he was talking to me about, he made a bet that would have won him $400. He had Chet Holmgren. I think he was supposed to get over 18.5 points. Motherfucker only got 18 points.
That's
so
brutal.
He lost $400 just because Chet Holmgren couldn't get one more damn point, which is pretty funny, but
that's what's called a bad. That's what's called a bad beat. That's what DeRosa and I were talking about. By the way, DeRosa, before Peyton stole my thunder and reintroduced you as Herpy Man, nope. I was going to introduce you more nicely this time. You are the winner of the Content Creator of the Year from the House Enterprises. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Tondo sends me a message. He's like, hey, we got this package for you. And I'm like, ooh, I like gifts. I'll take anything. I had no idea what it was.
Then I got a kilo of cocaine, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I got a little House Enterprise Yeti. I actually used one of these up at school. Yeah. There we go. And then I got this, and I'm like, oh, shit, hell yeah. So this will be on my desk, and I will rub this in all of your faces the entire time. Man. And I know the herpes thing's never going to die down, so I might as well embrace it. I don't know how many the Herpes Man Award winner, but if someone wants to, that would be me photoshopping.
What the hell?
I'm not doing that. So
what did he win?
He won Content Creator of the Year.
Jesus, how many nominations even nominated? 2 people?
Well, he was pumping out a lot of stuff, so. It was content.
People love me, Peyton.
Yeah.
I don't know if
that's not the only thing he's pumping out if he has herpes. Hey, you know what? I had to, man. You left the door open. I'm going to take it. You're on the wrong group of friends.
Fully on me,
Shout out to you, though. Shout out to everybody in the new year. I wasn't planning on doing this, but fuck it. We ball, so I'll take a shot for you. Congratulations on your award. And to bring in the new year, I haven't watched college basketball in a while, so I'm out here to bring the fun, bring the entertainment, and have some fun, talk some shit. And, cheers to everyone. Happy New Year. And hopefully I don't choke, because last time I did this when Kansas won the title, and I about choked to death. So
it's Fireball, so that's going to piss a lot of people off. But let's get into we've spent 8 minutes here just talking about stupid shit. Let's actually talk about some college basketball. We always got to start with news, and in the last 2 weeks since we've recorded, there's been some that is interesting. And fortunately, we got to start with more craziness. I feel like over the year, especially the last 18 months, we've had to come on here and do this more often than not. But TJ Shannon, it's all allegations now. We're not going to, like we do with all this other stuff, we're not going to get into the details. He said, she said, all that until facts completely come out and the due process is been done. But it is worth noting TJ Shannon got in some trouble with rape allegations. Obviously there's not much we can talk about, but I did feel like we had to bring it up. Your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, obviously innocent, guilty, we don't know yet what's going on, but those are some pretty serious allegations right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. I hope just everyone who was involved and potentially hurt by this is doing as well as they can be. Just getting that off the top. I feel like that has to be mentioned. But with all that said, if we're just talking straight basketball from this and taking obviously all this stuff, we'll let the process play out, as you mentioned. This kills Illinois.
Oh,
I think this takes Illinois from a top 10 team to a team that I don't think makes the tournament. And just how they're constructed, so dependent on Terrence Shannon. And now Marcus Damask is your number 1 option. Who's your number 2?
That's a good question.
Justin Harmon?
Or Coleman Hawkins, maybe. He's going to have to probably do more, and that's not always a good thing. We've talked about it. Coleman Hawkins is best served in small portions.
Yep. When
he's relied on to do more than what he's capable of for long stretches of time, it usually does not end well.
Yeah, it's not my. Yeah, I'm not a huge Coleman Hawkins fan in terms of his offensive production. I think so many people love the idea of a 6'10" guy who can handle the ball and pass it and like play on the perimeter like he sometimes can, that I think the idea of Coleman Hawkins has given so many people more expectations on the kid than he needs at this point.
I completely
Politely.
completely agree. Obviously, there's not much we can say because this is it's not like he stole candy from a gas station, right? This is pretty serious stuff. Let's hope everything turns out, and then we can maybe talk about it down the road once more facts actually come out. But bad situation. Just wanted to bring that up. Other piece of news real quick. Since we last recorded, Donovan Clingan's out 3 to 4 weeks, another foot injury. When 7-footers, especially of his size, like a bigger 7-footer, starts getting foot injuries, that throws up immediate red flags because that seems to be chronic issues. Your guys' thoughts on Clingan being out for the 3 to 4 weeks and worries about this continuing to be a problem throughout his career now?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that, actually. You are right. Like, I know, like, just thinking back on, like, 7-footers, like, Yao Ming had, like, terrible foot problems, and that kind of, like, hurt his career. George Mirzon, we'll just say George, so I don't have to embarrass myself, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, so the foot problems. So that's a good point. Clingan's young enough to where, hopefully, this is fine, and, like, I still think he'll be a first-round pick in this upcoming draft, even if he doesn't perform straight production-wise. Just the potential of a guy who can move like he can and defend the pick and roll in whatever role he does. And just with how the NBA drafts, and you look at a guy like Walker Kessler, and it's like, oh, he's been good. Then it's like, all right, who's the next Walker Kessler? That's all they're going to be stuck on. And the guy closest to it is definitely Clingan, just in the game right now. So I assume he'll still be drafted fairly high. And you can see why he has potential. But yeah, this could definitely hurt him down the line. This is a good point. I hadn't thought about that. You're right.
Peyton, when 7-footers like this begin to get foot injuries, how much of a concern for that is, or how much of a concern for that for you is that, if I could spit this out?
I know what she's talking about. Warriors are very difficult, especially after New Year's. But I hear what you're talking about. And yeah, it's definitely detrimental because when a 7-footer like that starts having issues with their ankles and legs, it takes away their mobility, it takes away their movement, and that could be a reoccurring thing. Because didn't he start the season off with an ankle injury anyways, and now he just got another one? So,
well, he's had a history of foot injuries. And by the way, joining us now, Miss Sarah, is it Kiernan? Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Kiernan, yes. Phenomenal. There we go. Miss Sarah Kiernan from Road to the Garden joins us now, just in time. You cover the Big East as well. We were just talking about Donovan Clingan's foot injury, keeping him out 3 to 4 weeks. But his history of foot problems and in big men in general, it seems like once they start to get a foot or ankle injury, it kind of becomes chronic. So I guess your thoughts on Clingan, his current injury, and any red flags that may present down the road for future injuries.
I mean, starting out the season, he was out. He came back for like a game or two. He didn't play against St. John's when they played them about 2 weeks ago now. I don't know if he's actually going to have a season. Like, honestly, he may come back for another game or two, but, especially like his size, his ability, his athleticism is always going to be there. But, when you're that big and you keep getting injured and it's the same injury, you got to see if you're going to even be able to play the season.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think that's kind of all what we've touched on here is, again, for some reason, 7-footers, especially a stockier 7-footer, when your legs and feet start to go, even if you're healed up, it seems it's way more chronic down the road. So it's something to keep an eye on if Clingan can finish the rest of the year, especially as Michael mentioned, NBA potential down the road for this upcoming draft. Is it even worth playing the rest of the year? So it's a storyline we're going to have to monitor the rest of the way. But we did have some action since the last time we recorded to take a break for the holidays. And I think it's a perfect place to start with the most recent stuff. Number 3, Arizona goes down. I'm sorry, number 4, Arizona goes down in Pac-12 action to Stanford, 100-82. This makes 3 losses in their last 6 for Arizona after starting the year out unbeaten. Your guys' concerns with Arizona, because I have a few now. Let's hear about it.
Man, I loved this team. They were so much fun to watch. They moved the ball so well. Kylan Boswell, I think, is the perfect point guard to have next to a Caleb Love offensively. However, then you look at defensively. I mean, Stanford shot like 64% from three. This is not a good Stanford team. This is not a well-coached Stanford team by any stretch. I'm fairly surprised Haas is still there, and this might earn him another year on his contract, or another year back. So good for him. The Stanford team is talent. You see the freshmen both had really good games. Carnon Carlisle from Overtime Elite, and then Andrei Stojakovic. I don't know his high school off the top of my head, but
shout out Peja.
Yeah, dude.
Shout out Peja, man.
So good for me on PK, man.
When he started blowing up on the circuit, I think like a year and a half ago, there was rumors of Kentucky being involved, and I was like, please, because if he could shoot like Peja, and we got to see him a little bit in person, Peyton and I, in the Adidas circuit, and the kid can shoot, and I was like, please, and then he goes to Stanford, so it all worked out. But Sarah, you and Peyton, your thoughts on Arizona? 3 losses in their last 6 now. I think there's starting to be some holes discovered. We all thought their defense, had improved markedly. We all knew their offense the last year or two has been incredible, but now they're giving up 100 points to a very, very mediocre at best Stanford team. Are we concerned about Arizona now?
Go ahead.
I mean, you've seen it especially this year, number 4, number 2, number 3 teams going down to these Stanford teams. They're losing, and it's just, I don't know about Arizona. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep that top 10 spot too much longer if this is the path they're going down. However, if they can make those adjustments, they should be back in the top 3. It's honestly up to them. That's the biggest thing, is if you're losing consistently, you're not in that mindset, especially losing 100 points to Stanford. That's a little, especially Stanford, that team, that kind of like rivalry close by. Gotta get together and start the new year off. Kind of get your head together and make sure that you're ready, because otherwise you're going to continue dropping in the polls and you're just not going to be where they want to be.
Well, that's a good point. That Peyton, the Pac-12, we know, is not the greatest conference. There's some decent teams this year in it. When you factor in a Utah, or Oregon's still got potential once they get fully healthy. UCLA is not as good as we thought preseason they would be. But this is Arizona's conference to lose in their final year in the Pac-12. And you feel like they've not only got to win, but you feel like they kind of got to dominate. It's not a good start to the conference slate. They've really been playing around with teams. Caleb Love's still been awesome. He led them in this game, 23 points. Omar Ballo had 12. They were only guys in double figures. The couple things I want to pose to you. We've lauded them for their defense, and now it's starting to take a step backwards. And we've lauded them for only playing basically an 8-man rotation. And they're not getting the same production out of the freshman, sophomore off the bench as they once were. So again, are you concerned about Arizona moving forward? Even look beyond Pac-12 play. Get in the NCAA tournament, and they have to play another team like a Princeton that can control the tempo and shoot threes on them. Do you worry about them? Because Stanford hit 16 threes against Arizona's defense.
I do have concerns, because if we go back to last year, one of my main concerns for Arizona last year is they started the season off very hot, kind of like they did to this season. But once they got into conference play, they took like an early loss like Utah, and they shouldn't have took. And then they started to get some more losses and didn't really start playing well. And that's because early in the year, the guard player was playing really fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this season, the guard player is playing really fucking well. Now the guard player, I know Caleb Love had 23 in this game, but no one else stepped up. Boswell only had 5 points, 5 rebounds. Taylor Lawson had 6 points. Omar Ballo had 12, and I know he's a center, but the guard player is starting to dwindle down some. So if they want to really be the team that can dominate in this conference, which they probably should, they have the talent to do so, the guard player has to be better. Absolutely. And there's no reason in hell you should be giving up 100 points to Stanford, especially when Stanford had 14 turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
No reason.
Stanford, 16 threes. Also, Pelle Larsson has been good, but in order for Arizona to play in their home state in the Final Four this year, Pelle Larsson's got to be great down the stretch. He's got to be great. He can't have games, especially in big moments. He cannot disappear. Caleb Love needs more consistent help out of Boswell and Pelle Larsson if Arizona is to play in a Final Four in their backyard. Let's move on. Another top-ranked team went down just recently. Florida Atlantic 68, Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, Lob City, baby, 72, bringing back the feelings of 2013. I'll let you guys, I'll pose this question to you. Florida Atlantic, every time that they start to look good and have big wins, they beat the aforementioned Arizona. They played a close game against Illinois. They've got good wins, but they've also got 2 quad 4 losses now in Bryant and Florida Gulf Coast. What are we to make of Florida Atlantic this year? Is it going to be one of those years where they're a good team that takes bad losses along the way, but are still going to be dangerous come March? Or is this a sign of things to come for Florida Atlantic?
I still think they can do some damage in March just because their backcourt's so damn talented. Janelle Davis, he had 16 in this game. Or not this game, I was looking at something else. But yeah, sorry, 17 in this game. Janelle Davis is great. Weatherspoon's a great player as well. So I think those two, their guard play alone, I think come March, I still think they can do some damage. Just need to be more consistent, though.
Yeah, I think with this team, particularly with teams who are really dependent on guards, high floor, low ceiling at any time. Like you saw the run they went on. At the same time, if you remember the Memphis game in the tournament, got kind of lucky to win that one. They probably should have lost that one.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
But I mean, very talented team. But I think something that Illinois, I think, really showed in that game was if they got Golden in foul trouble, and then after that, FAU was kind of toast. So, like, if you can get a team like them in foul trouble there, and then you have the Bryant loss and now the FGCU loss. Granted, this was a road game, even though FGCU was without Isaiah Thompson, Purdue transfer, who is just their best player. I think the team with guard dependent, I think we're going to learn high ceiling, low floor, and they're just going to be a tough team to predict.
Yeah, and Sarah, we always talk about it, the three-point line. I know it kind of is ad nauseum at times, but you look at this game and how important that three-point line is. Florida Atlantic, 4 of 20 for 20%. Florida Gulf Coast, 9 of 21 for 42, basically 43% if you rounded it up. That's probably the difference in the ball game.
Oh,
because the turnovers weren't much different. They were within 2. Rebounding was fairly similar. It was honestly the three-point line.
That's for any team too. That three-point line, if you're missing or you're just like, I'm going to try it, and you continue missing and you're just going to keep running that same thing, like, that's my biggest thing. Why are you going to keep running that same thing if it's not working?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think part of it, Florida Atlantic, their game plan, as the guys have mentioned as well, the guard play with Elijah Martin and John L. Davis and Witherspoon, they are very spread out, kind of 4 out, 1 in, using Golden on the interior. And so they're going to get up more threes with their dribble handoffs and all that stuff. But you got to hit them. And if not, you do have especially in games like against Florida Gulf Coast, when you are the superior team on paper, you've got to pound it into your big man more. He had 21 in this game and probably should have had 30 if they would have focused more on him. I think for Florida Atlantic, it's going to be one of these deals. As Martin and Davis goes, Florida Atlantic goes. When Elijah Martin and John L. Davis both played at their potential, Florida Atlantic is more than capable of making another run. But if one of them, just one of them, like in this case, Elijah Martin only had 8. If only one of them play well, they're very susceptible to get knocked out in the first round. I think that's kind of, they have such a wide variance of how good they can be. But good win for Florida Gulf Coast. Good to see the feeling back down there. And what was it, Dunk City or Lob City? I forget. One was it Lob City, I think is what it was. Dunk
you don't
City,
need to keep talking about this team. I remember that game. It was
the
Dunk
Georgetown
City.
game.
I was there. Like,
that was the Georgetown game where they got on the map. That was fun.
Yeah, that was.
Let's go to your guys' backyard for the Road to the Garden stuff here. We had a great one on Saturday. It was the ECB Weekly Pick'em game of the day. Big East battle between Marquette and Creighton. Marquette pulls one out 72-67 in a game where Marquette's defense was the story of this one, especially in the second half. I'll let you two take it first, whichever one wants to go. Big win for Marquette. Another loss for Creighton drops them to 9-4 in the year, 0-2 in conference play. Marquette's defense was incredible in this one. Talk to me about it.
If you've watched Marquette, you can even see, the enthusiasm, the videos I saw of Shaka Smart on the sidelines, you can just see how much passion is put into this team. Marquette and Creighton, like, those are the top teams besides UConn in the Big East. So this was just going to be a battle no matter what. But Marquette's shown that they have that defensive play to win these games. And Creighton's just, I feel like they're still finding their footing, honestly, in conference play this year, which is weird to say since they're such a structured team usually. So it's interesting to see what's going on right now, especially with the Big East. There's so many in conference transfer players. So people know the different styles of the other teams because they used to play on them. And vice versa. They've been playing, especially Marquette and Creighton. I think, Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They're the two teams that I think not that many people transferred out of. So they've been playing together for years now.
Yeah, Marquette basically had everybody back and then added a couple freshmen. That's a good point because I do want to ask both of you. DeRosa, I'll let you take this first. There's been some chatter after Wake Forest won the other night. I put a thing on our Twitter about Hunter Sallis continue to kill it, being all ACC first teamer, and got a lot of response back from Creighton people and Gonzaga people alike. And a lot of Creighton people upset that they end up taking Stephen Ashworth as opposed to Hunter Sallis. And you look at this game, Ashworth played the disappearing act again. 3 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. Do you think they're regretting now taking the Utah State transfer as opposed to taking a chance on Hunter Sallis?
Oh, 100%. Sallis is looking like that 5-star who was coming out of high school. I mean, he was top 10 kid in the class, I believe. He's a hooper. And at Wake Forest, he is just absolutely dominating. He looked like the kid we expected to see out of high school. And when you look at Stephen Ashworth, as you mentioned it, he's really disappeared. And I think it's becoming very clear that both. It's weird because it's like kind of like a trio there because Creighton loses Nembhard to Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
Both Nembhard has not been he's been good for Gonzaga, but not great. Creighton doesn't have a point guard right now. That's really where they're struggling. Trey Alexander is really the only guy who can create his own shot there. He loves hitting that little spin jumper from the elbow. But yeah, I really think they're going to regret not taking Sallis. Sallis, he's from Omaha. He's going, west to east to Wake Forest, who's been kind of surprising. Coach Forbes is using him well, and I feel like Sallis is kind of like the exact piece Creighton is missing. They need someone who can create their own shot, who can run the offense, who can settle things down, and who can be athletically. Because when this Creighton team's losing, and something that really worries me about them is there's a path to beating them. You can out-muscle them. If you want it more, you can take it from them. You can literally just take it from them.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to fight back. Yeah, Kalkbrenner is such a good player, but he is so soft. Shireman,
they are very soft. They are very soft. And Peyton, you know this, watching Hunter Sallis and this Creighton team. Creighton's best teams the last couple of years under Ryan Nembhard, not only could they play in the half court, but they were really good in transition. They were really good turning defense and offense in a hurry. Ashworth does not give them that. He's much better suited in a half-court grinded out game. And when they try to run, it's all over the place. Hunter Sallis can change pace in a hurry. I think if you would have put Hunter Sallis on this team and wherever Ashworth went, he went. But you give Creighton Hunter Sallis, Creighton is in a much better spot than 9-4 and 0-2 in conference play right now.
1,000%. I think Ashworth would be better off if he played for a team like Virginia, played in the half court, slow it down, grind it out. I think he would actually flourish in that type of system down there at Tony Bennett, which I want to talk about Tony Bennett later on in the show. But, two things I want to talk about. One point I want to talk about what Sarah talked about with Shaka Smart. Outside of Bill Self, who's my coach, if I was a recruit and I could play for any coach in the country, I'm picking Shaka Smart. That dude, every fucking game, doesn't matter if it's a low major or a high major, he brings that energy and he has so much swagger. That clip of him just playing defense on the sidelines, oh my God, that was hysterical.
I know it was a great clip and I love Shaka. That's a technical foul.
That's a technical foul, 100%.
That is a technical foul. Do not let Seth Davis try to convince you otherwise. You cannot be in the corner when Shireman's trying to drive that way, because even if he wasn't going to the corner, as a basketball player in your peripheral, you see somebody stand there in a defensive stance, you think, oh shit, that corner's blocked off now. I got to turn back middle. It's a technical. I'm sorry. I love Shaka, but that's a tech.
Yeah, it's definitely a tech. You know what? I don't give a shit. Who's going to tell him that? Nobody. I don't think anybody has the balls to tell him that. One thing, funny transition. I want to talk about Baylor Shireman real quick. He had 23 points, 8 rebounds in this game. Fun fact, Me and Josh, when he was at our high school holiday tournament, we was talking about this game. He asked me who I thought was going to win. I said I picked Marquette. We was talking about the Kim Pom MVP, who it can possibly be. Josh said, I think Trey Alexander or whoever you said, because everybody was going with Tyler Kolek. And I'm like, I know he didn't win it, but I'm like, this is a game that Baylor Shireman can go off and have a good game. Yeah. Motherfucker did. He didn't win Kim Pom MVP. He probably should have. I know Tyler Kolek did. But, man, Baylor Shireman played well. It's just Creighton needs a point guard at this moment, and they just don't got it.
They do. I do want to give some love to Marquette, though. We've talked a lot about Creighton and their struggles and deficiencies. Tyler Kolek was awesome down the stretch again. Hit all of his clutch free throws, 15 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. He is still the best point guard in the country. But they're getting play. How about Sean Jones off the bench? 15 points, 3 of 5 from 3. I think he'd had made like 2 threes all year coming into this game. If you can get production, that's what we've always said about Marquette. You know their 5 or 6 players are going to give you stuff every night. And Oso Ighodaro didn't even play particularly well. He did have 16 rebounds, but you know what I'm saying from a scoring standpoint. They need somebody off that bench to really step up. And it just so happened Sean Jones was the guy. Now, do we think Sean Jones can do this night in, night out? No. But if Sean Jones or a Ben Gold or a Chase Ross can give you 7, 8 points, now Marquette's really cooking. How about Sean Jones, though? I mean, you guys cover this team. Sean Jones, you got to feel great for this sophomore.
Oh, he's a little spark plug. He's like off the bench. He brings the energy. He is lightning fast with the ball. He's really it's a complete change of pace from Kolek. You go from Kolek, who's more slow, like settled in and just looks so in control of the game. Then you have Sean Jones going 200 miles an hour. But like, as you mentioned, you didn't get a great game from Oso, Cam Jones or Tyler Kolek. They combined to go, I did the math in my head earlier, 12 of 38 from the field and 2 of 12 from 3. And they still beat Creighton, a team that is some people were looking at as like a top 10 team coming into the season. I probably had him around there too. You get something out of Sean Jones. 15 points off the bench in 13 minutes, just complete spark plug defensively too. 3 of 5 from 3, as you mentioned. They needed someone to show up, and Joplin was all right. I definitely think they missed Omax Prosper to the draft. I think that could help hurt them. Like if they have to go against like a Kevin McCullough type dominant wing. But man. Yeah, just getting something out of Sean Jones in this one. He really willed them to this game. He completely changed like the flow of the game, and that's how they end up winning this one.
Especially with players coming off.
Sorry, I was going to lead you into it. No, you're good. I was going to lead you into it. I was going to say, Sean Jones hit those shots. It wasn't only the 3 threes he made, but they were so timely because it was during a point when Creighton kept scoring. And then when he hit those 3 threes basically in a row, it gave Marquette just enough cushion to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, and the biggest thing too, kind of what Michael was saying, that spark. When you have a player who's been sitting on the bench, kind of like itching to come onto the court, and that opportunity, especially in this kind of game, and you're like, okay, I'm ready, you go in, you feel that energy, and once you hit that first 3, you just keep going. That's the motivation to just go and just keep going and get the ball. That's what a lot of these teams I kind of been seeing. When you're pulling those bench players who don't have that many minutes throughout the season already, and just kind of use sometimes, when they get that opportunity, they take advantage of it as much as possible. And you're probably I don't want to guarantee anything, but you're probably going to see them use more throughout the season after this game, especially from this game. If you're able to produce that in Marquette Creighton game, you're going to be using the biggies.
Confidence and momentum in sports, especially basketball, is so undervalued. Like as a player myself, coach, everything, pretty much my whole life. Once you see one go in, or if you have a good game, it so much feeds into the next game and the next game, because you're like, it's that confidence building and the momentum rolling. Peyton, it looked like you were going to say something before we move on.
Yeah, last note on Marquette. They can win a high-scoring game. They can win a low-scoring game. This team's just built to win. And when it comes down to March, they might be the most prepared team in the country, and that's why I think they're a legit Final Four contender. That's my last note on Marquette.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Marquette, great win. They needed it. But one of these teams were going to start 0-2 in conference play, which is insane for 2 of the 3 teams preseason. We had projected to win the conference. So good stuff from Marquette. Let's go on to another upset that happened here recently. Embarrassing. Notre Dame is not a good team. Micah Shrewsbury will get this program back to relevancy in just a few years. I believe in him as a coach. Love his style of play if you watch him at Penn State, but he does not have a good ball club right now. And the fact that they absolutely railroaded, not even close, railroaded Virginia 76-54. There are problems with Virginia. You look at the record and you could say they're 10-3, 1-1 in conference play. Okay. But man, who have they beat? I think their only really quality win I can think of is they beat Florida, but they've got their ass whooped by Wisconsin. They've got their ass whooped by Notre Dame. I don't think Virginia is a good team. I think they're just good enough to make the tournament and finish middle of the pack at ACC, but I don't think they're much more than that. This is not a good Virginia team, and is a sure in the hell not a good Notre Dame team. And Notre Dame just laid the wood to them, hit 11 3-point shots in this game. Your guys' thoughts on Notre Dame taking Virginia to the woodshed in this one?
Yeah, let's set some context for this one for Notre Dame. Entering this game, they played Marquette at Marquette. Marquette goes up like 21-0. Game was over from there. Marquette just kind of coasted from there. Georgetown comes to town without Jaden Epps, who is their leading scorer and might at this point be the leading scorer in the Big East. It might be Shireman, might be someone else, but he's up there. 18 points a game, 19 points a game, easy. He doesn't play. Georgetown beats him. Right after that, they played the Citadel. Citadel beats them by 20 at Notre Dame. Game after that, they sneak by Marist. Not a good Marist team. Then they come out and smoke Virginia. They beat the piss out of Virginia. This wasn't a close game. This wasn't close for a second.
Beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, they got look. You go.
Played 16. No, I'm just going to add to it. Played 16 guys. Of course, a lot of them bench minutes there at the end. We're emptying the bench, but they played 16 guys in this game. At least got a minute of action.
Yeah,
how the hell do you even have 16 people on the bench now?
You can have like 15 walk-ons. You can just say, all right, you want to come to the team? Sure, why not? You're welcome to the team. Throw a manager in there too. They earned it, man. If you're like come on, get them Big East ACC minutes. Come on now, that'd be awesome. But
yeah.
Virginia's got no creators.
None.
Dunn had a good game. Dunn, I've seen him on NBA draft boards, like just because of the length defense Bree brings. That could happen. It's a weak draft class, but like other than that, Rhodey's not a great creator. McNeely's not a great creator. Beekman is good defensively, not a great creator. They don't really have anyone who can go out there and get their own shot, and then they'll just run the same actions all the time. And if those aren't working, they're screwed. Like in this game, Virginia had 10 assists to 11 turnovers against a bad Notre Dame defense. This is a bad defense. They're better offensively than defensively, and they're not great offensively. This is a bad performance from Virginia, and they're just not that good.
Peyton and Sarah, if this isn't the most Virginia-esque team, without the star players that they had when they won the title, they are 6th in adjusted defense and 156 in adjusted offense. They rely so much on the defense. It is such a struggle to watch them. When they won the title, 4 or 5 years ago now, they had players. They had Kyle Guy could absolutely shoot it. Ty Jerome was a dog who could score. They had players who were at least exciting, even though they played that slow down style. Who is their exciting player? Reese Beekman's a good player, but they have nobody that can, when the shot clock gets late, give him the ball, get the hell out of the way, and he's going to go create. They cannot score. They just cannot score.
So I was going to talk about Tony Bennett. I might as well just go ahead and do it now because I have some mixed feelings about this whole situation down here in Virginia. Despite my feelings towards Virginia, I've always mentioned I don't like these bastards because they always beat the living shit out of Louisville, and I just don't understand it. But I like Tony Bennett. Shut up, Doris. I respect him. I respect him a lot. I think he knows his shit. He's a very good coach. I think the game sort of passed him by because the era of NIL and transfer portal, I don't think he wants to deal with it anymore. I don't think he wants to invest in it, and I don't think he's going to last any longer than what he has because you either got to adapt to this whole new changes, or you got to get the F out or try to do something else because After they won the national title in 2019, you mentioned the guys they had on that roster. They had Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter was a lottery pick in that draft. You had Diakite, who was a great rebounder, good shot blocker. You had Kihei Clark coming off the bench, electric, spark plug, good defender. You had a talented roster, and they ended up winning the national championship. After that, they've completely plateaued, and they've completely fallen off the face of the earth. I don't understand it. I think this roster, outside of like Reese Beekman, who I actually like, I think he's a very talented player. I don't think this roster is built to win games, and I don't see him lasting any longer.
Well, here, Sarah, I think those are good points. I like what Peyton said. I do think the game has passed him by in the terms. I think he can always play his style. Like the half court grinded out is always going to be there. But not adapting the NIL, I think, is a major problem in getting the kind of people he needs to be at an ACC high level, which Virginia has been at under him. I do think that's a problem, and I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think that the game has passed Tony Bennett by? Because look at these 3 losses. They've scored 41 against Wisconsin, 54 apiece against Memphis and Notre Dame, and it's not like overwhelming talents coming into Virginia anymore during NIL.
I mean, the biggest thing is, St. John's, we had Patino come in, and all this man's really been talking about is NIL. And he'll tell you firsthand, like, it's not the best thing, like most thing he wants to focus on, but it's something that he has to. This man's 71 years old, and he's like, you know what? If I have to use it, I'll use it. Like, if this is how I'm going to get my players, I'll get my players. And if a coach isn't willing to adapt, especially because NIL is so important to these players now, I mean, you're getting paid by brands. If you look on a bunch of the guys' Instagrams or the female players, especially some of the women's players too, they got huge brand deals. Caitlin Clark has like what, 6 different brand deals?
Yeah, she's money.
Like she's making that money. So if you're not willing to adapt to then help your team, especially in the ACC, and I feel like the ACC is one of those conferences now that was so good a few years ago and just is in like a rebuild kind of right now. There's certain teams that are in a rebuild kind of period of like, okay, like we had such great players and they all like, they're not there anymore. I'm trying to just refocus a little bit.
That's a great point. Something we've actually talked about in the last year about the ACC with the conference. It was either number 1 or 1A with the Big Ten for a number of years, but they're not getting the same type of athletes that they once were. The athletes now are going to the SEC, or they're going to the Big East, or they're going to the Big 12. They're not getting the same type of athletes that they once were. Now, it's not to say like Duke and Carolina and these teams aren't getting 5 stars, because they are. But they're not, as a whole, like Florida State's not getting the same kind of recruit that it used to. Virginia's not getting the same kind of recruit that it used to. So I think that's a very good point. Let's start to wrap up the review part of this. We'll go around the table. If there's 1 or 2 games from this past couple weeks during the holidays you want to talk about, we'll bring it up and discuss it real quick. I'll start with one. Indiana State goes up to the Breslin Center on Saturday and loses a very good game to Michigan State, who's starting to finally get right a little bit. I don't want to talk about Michigan State. I want to talk about Indiana State because Peyton and I will be going to cover them in a couple weeks when they play a very good Belmont team. I'm so excited. I think Indiana State, there's a handful of teams in the country that have as fun as offense as Indiana State. You put Indiana State, Marquette, Kentucky, a couple of those teams all together as far as just absolute ball to watch on offense. They didn't come out victorious in this game. Like I said, Michigan State still got talent. They're starting to get right. They're putting it together. But Indiana State, if you have not watched this team, this is only their 2nd loss, and they took Michigan State to the wire, basically, in the Breslin Center in East Lansing. Isaiah Swope, 26 points. Ryan Conwell, 16. Jason Kent, 12. Their best player, Robbie Avila, who's basically, they're calling him like, oh man, I just lost his name, from the Denver Nuggets, the big man. Help me out here. Jokic, thank you. They're calling him basically like a baby Joker because he's 6'10". He's kind of a bigger frame, but not like, you know what I'm talking about, that type of body frame. He only had 5 and 6 in this game. Normally he has like 9 rebounds, 9 or 10 rebounds, and like 8 assists. So they were able to neutralize him. But this offense is so fun. Even saying that, they hit 14 threes, 14 of 35. If you get a chance to watch Indiana State in the Missouri Valley Conference, please do it. You will not be disappointed. Even in this loss, I still believe they're going to win the Valley, and they're going to be probably like a 9-10 seed, maybe an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they are going to cause nightmares. Whoever opposes them in the NCAA tournament. Indiana State is an absolute ball to watch play.
Dude,
I love this team.
the games between them and Drake are going to be so much fun. You got to watch.
That's coming up very soon.
Yeah. Oh,
in the next
man.
couple
Yeah.
of weeks. That's coming up.
That's Appointment TV. I'm gonna be there for
Yeah,
sure. But
1000%.
first of all, we mentioned you guys mentioned Caitlin Clark earlier. I didn't say anything, so I just want to say this now. That girl's worth that much and then some. She's a hoopa. Oh my god, she is filthy.
God.
Yeah, dude, she's so good. She's so much fun to watch.
She's a super freak in the best possible way in basketball terms.
But 2 games I wanted to mention just real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got anyone off, but one, if I did, my bad. BYU, just kind of, if you mention good offenses, the way BYU uses Ali Khalifa, I don't know if they're going to be able to in Big 12 play. So I just kind of want to say this now because they use him like in these like DHO actions, like they'll run curls off of him and screens. Dude had 31 straight assists without a turnover. He's a center. He's a
That's
5
insane.
man who like wasn't recruited by really any other, because BYU is Big 12 now. He wasn't recruited by any other Power 5 school. Man, the way they use him is so much fun. BYU's offense is so much fun to watch. If you want another offense that's great, like Indiana State's, it's BYU, man. When this team is firing on all cylinders,
No.
beautiful.
Number 6 in offense, number 5 in effective field goal percentage, number 13 in turnover percentage, so it means they don't turn the ball over, 12 in offensive rebound percentage. They're shooting 38% from 3, puts them 26, 60% from 2, which is 7th in the country. They don't get blocked, and they don't have non-steal turnovers. They are a top 6 offense and a top 10 defense. Historically, teams that are in the top 20 in both of those categories, let alone top 10, are teams who win titles. Now, I don't know if BYU can win a title because Big 12 play hasn't started yet, but I'm with you, dude. BYU, Mark Pope's a hell of a coach. He's one hell of a coach. Former Kentucky Wildcat.
So much fun. So much fun. The actions they run, it's beautiful offense at its best. I love watching this team play. I don't know if they have the athleticism, particularly with a guy like Khalifa. He is kind of that frame for a 7-footer. The man does not look nimble by any means, but man, they're so much fun to watch. If they can get it going, this team's gonna be fun. I really hope they do. I always rank them so high, partially because I watch them play and I'm just like, man, this team is so much fun. And by God, anytime I can rank BYU in the top 10 and just tell people to like watch this team, I'm gonna. So this might be the last week I'm able to. So
they're a load. Sarah, you are a St. John's. That's your team, right? I didn't know how else to word that. They just had a win against Hofstra. I know Patino made some comments about next year's schedule.
Oh, God.
When doesn't Patino make comments? But talk to us about St. John's real quick. You talk
So,
about the win against
that was
Hofstra or whatever.
I mean, that was my favorite thing because I'm just sitting there impressed. I asked about RJ Lewis, got his first start of the season against a really good Hofstra team. Like Hofstra's conference, it's the MAC, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
They have some sneaky good team. Like they're kind of rising up where I'm fully seeing some of their teams. I'm like, okay, you're like, damn, they were close with St. John's too. It was not let's just go out and play easy win. No, was not an easy win. They had to grind at the end to get that win. But yeah, some other media people in the room were like, we're going to play UConn. Like, you guys are playing UConn at home? And Patino has his, he said he has his reasons. I would be so surprised if the Big East lets him do that.
Yeah.
Because Carnesecca's, I mean, I'll be there on Tuesday shooting for Butler, or not shooting for Butler, but watching the Butler game against St. John's. I'll be on the floor taking photos. So, but the thing is, Carnesecca's small. You cannot move around there. I refuse to go up to the stands if I do not have to, because you cannot move. It is sardines. It is made to fit. It's the capacity of, I think, 5,600 people. I think that's like the max too.
It
or
still
less.
smells like 1982 in there is what I heard.
Yeah, Lou Carnesecca's, every time Lou Carnesecca walks in, it kind of builds a second. I mean, him saying that, the league's not going to let that happen. I'm going to say that right now. There's no way the Big East and Fox is going to let that game happen at Carnesecca. I was talking to other media. I think I have to look at it. The last time that game was played in Carnesecca, was when it wasn't even named Carnesecca because Lou Carnesecca was the head coach.
That's crazy.
Like,
isn't it?
I'm pretty, I'll double check, but those comments were interesting to say the least. Our poor SID had a mini heart attack, most likely. Man was probably like, oh, like, please stop.
Like, please, Rick, no.
Like, Rick, please, like, don't instigate, because, you know, I will say some of our New York reporters, they'll poke the bear. They'll keep poking till they can get something.
Rick, just chill out. Go have a cannoli. We'll be okay. Paisan, easy. That's great, though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely St. John's is the biggest thing you're hearing from St. John's, from Pitino especially, is that he recruited offensive players. These guys know how to get to the basket, but when they're defending, it hasn't been there. They had no defensive play in them for the longest time because he didn't have those players. He had these guys who knew how to work together offensively. And, you know, it's 12 new guys. They're still, you know, learning from each other. But since that loss at Boston College on December 10th, when he was pissed beyond belief, because that's how he plays. He wants defensive players as well. And you're training some of the, you know, half our team is grad students. So when you're trying to redo their entire game in their last year of eligibility, or their second to last year of eligibility, it's hard to do and it takes time. And I think you're finally seeing that a little bit. I mean, they barely lost to UConn. That was I was so sad about that. I was watching that till the very last second. I was like, come on, guys, please. Please.
Hail Marys up.
Yeah, exactly. Little prayer and be like, come on, we got this.
Well, we've talked about it, right, for years and years and years. Rick Pitino is one of the greatest of all time. And I'm of belief, being a Kentucky fan, I know there's bias, but I mean this. Had he never left Kentucky for the Boston Celtics, he would have had the all-time wins record. Coach K would not have had it. He would have kept winning at a high clip. And if the thing at Louisville wouldn't have happened, he would have still been there and Louisville would have still been really good, and etc. Pitino's amazing. And he will get this figured out. If not by the end of this year, you damn sure next year and the years beyond, St. John's will be consistently in the top 20, top 25, maybe even higher than that. I do want to ask you real quick, because we got to hit an ad break here soon. Chris Liedlam. Now, DeRosa and I have spent a lot of time over the last month or so talking about Liedlam. He's been very disappointing in my eyes, at least. I know he didn't play the other night against Hofstra. You're right there. You're in the backyard. What is the word you're hearing about Liedlam from the program? What's your thoughts on him? Because he was brought in to be a scorer, and I don't think he's been very consistent, really very good at all.
See, I will say he has not been consistent. Liedlam has not been as consistent as people are expecting him to be. I think the biggest thing, especially because I am a photographer as well, not just reporting, so I am sitting on the floor, so I can see the bench very clearly, that when he comes off, when Pitino's telling him something, an assistant coach will come sit with him and tell him, like, hey, this is why you're pulled off, and he's listening. I think he's one of the more, I don't know how to phrase, he's one of those guys on the team that's listening to every single thing that is being said, because he knows that he wants to be on the floor. He wants to be on that floor playing for Pitino. So he's listening to every comment that they're saying, being like, okay, that's what I did. Okay, perfect. Like, I'll fix that. Like, I got it. So I think he's trying to get more consistent. This injury kind of screwed him over. I feel bad. He didn't get to play against Hofstra. Pitino is not sure if he's going to play on Tuesday against Butler, which honestly, I think would be more hurt for St. John's if he doesn't play. Even limited minutes, I think that'd be the better option, because he has, I think, finally, since the Boston College game, kind of turned himself around. I mean, he's had some really good games, I will say. He's been inconsistent, but he's had those games where you can kind of see him spark and be like, okay, he's going. Like, he's got it. And Pitino's hard on his players. I mean,
oh yeah,
you hear from the sidelines, you hear from, you know, sitting close. If you're sitting even remotely close, and especially Carnesecca, like I was saying before, it's from 1990. It's small.
Yeah.
And Pitino's a loud man, so you can hear him. He's not a quiet coach. I'm gonna say that much. He's not a quiet coach. You can hear what he's saying to his players.
He's Italian.
You can hear what he's saying to his players. So I like Liedlam. I think he has some to take this injury and kind of work it back.
Well, I think maybe I was a little harsh. I think I was expecting so much of him.
Yeah,
You
a
know,
lot of
coming
people were.
in. Yeah, so obviously there's time and the injuries kind of setting him back. But I love the insight, though, what you said about being on the floor and you can see, because that's stuff that maybe the broadcast don't always show if you're not in-house, where you get yanked, you know, you see him actually absorbing the information. So that's a good sign. I feel better about that, hearing that, as opposed to what I thought, you know, just thinking he's not playing very well. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take an ad break real quick, play some ads, pay the bills. And when we come back, we've got New Year's resolutions for teams across the country. What would we like to see for these teams to set them up for success moving into 2024 in the back end of the season? We've got more coming up. We're going to talk some conference previews now that full conference play is upon us. We've got so much more in episode 170. We hope you guys are enjoying this. We'll be right back after these ads.
What's going on, Everything College Basketball listeners? It is Conrad Cushman here from Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans, where we talk pro wrestling every single week. Our current schedule is Mondays live at 6:05. We have Clash of the Podcast for myself and my co-host Sean Hubbard of Hubbard Wrestling Weekly go live to talk all the latest and greatest in pro wrestling. On Wednesdays, we are live after AEW Dynamite, a little after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Everything Pro Wrestling YouTube channel as well. Make sure you guys come on over if you guys are fans of All Elite Wrestling. And we do cover some of the pay-per-views that happen over the weekends. Keep your eyes peeled for when we have those available as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to us talk about our schedule. Let's get back to my good friends over at Everything College Basketball.
College basketball fans, I've got a question for you. Are you looking to score big with your basketball bets and analysis? Well, ShotQualityBets.com is your go-to source for data, picks, and predictions that are a cut above the rest. With their state-of-the-art computer vision and AI, they analyze the game like no one else, providing you with unique data that's crucial for making informed decisions. Shot Quality Bets takes the hard work out of betting by matching their highly accurate predictions with the current betting lines, making it a breeze for you to place winning wagers. And the best part? You can start this winning streak right now with the Everything College Basketball exclusive code of ECB for 10% off your first month. Simply visit ShotQualityBets.com/welcome to sign up and jump into the action. It's that easy. ShotQualityBets.com, where data drives your analysis to the next level. We would like to thank ShotQualityBets.com for coming on board with Everything College Basketball this year. As you heard, go to ShotQualityBets.com. Use promo code ECB for 10% off your first month. We use it all the time. I love the data and analysis. What's a good shot? Who's taking them? Breaking down who's the best at like corner or catch and shoot threes, corner threes off the dribble. It's so much if you're a basketball stat nerd like all of us are. So go use the promo code ECB for 10% off your first month. And shout out to our good friends over Everything Pro Wrestling. Conrad Cushman and company does a great job covering the professional wrestling. It is that time of the year as we head into Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. It's a fun time if you're a pro wrestling fan. Go show them some love. But what we're going to do right now, and by the way, I was laughing for those who are watching along on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. When that ad played, in my ears, it sounded like I sound like Daffy Duck for a minute. I was like, that's weird. That's never done that. It was like, it's like ShotQualityBets.com. I was like, that's messed up. I have no idea what happened, but that's funny. What we're going to do now is New Year's resolutions. We are recording. It's the first day of 2024. Everybody does them. Not everybody keeps their resolutions. I stopped doing them a long time ago because I knew I was a liar. I wasn't going to keep them. But we're going to do them for college basketball teams across the country. What would we like to see for them? One thing, two things, whatever. We would like to see for these teams that we feel would help them make a deep run or hit their goals for the rest of the 2024 season. So I will start. Sarah, we were just on the topic of St. John's. I'm going to throw it to you first. Your New Year's resolution for the St. John's Red Storm is...
Oh, better defensive play and connectivity with each other, connecting on the floor, on and off the court. But I was also going to say, I do have a New Year's resolution for DePaul. Happiness, love, and possible wins for them if they can win.
Hey, they beat Chicago State. That's a good upset.
You know, I wish DePaul the best. We'll see them soon. The Johnnies play them soon, so I will see them. You know, just hoping their women's program's doing great. Their women,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so you know, 1 out of 2.
Yeah, well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. I know Meatloaf said 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but 1 out of 2, hey. Peyton, you've got 2 teams. Let's hear them for Louisville first. Your New Year's resolution. I think I know what this is going to be. What would it be?
Yeah, for Louisville, you really want me to start with Louisville first?
Yeah, let's start with the bad. Let's start with the bad.
Let me put my glasses on. For Louisville, yeah, let's get a time machine, please. Let's go back to like 1980s, where we were really fucking good, consistently good, winning national titles. We won 2 titles in that decade, one in 80 and one in 86. I spent the whole hour on New Year's resolutions for this shitty Louisville squad. But my number one for them, KP, get the fuck out of Louisville. Immediately. You should have done it like the first 4 games of the season. I don't know why our AD Josh Fields being this big of a pussy for. Get rid of him. Like he clearly does not know what he's doing as a head coach. And I love KP as a person. I know he's one of the nicest guys. That's what everybody always says. We met him. Yeah, we met him at the Adidas Hoops Gone like 2 years ago. I think he's a nice guy. But as a head coach, I think he's a pretty good assistant coach. He did well. He did well at Kentucky. He did his thing at Oregon before there. I think as a head coach, he has no clue what he's doing, and he's hurting this program way more than he's helping them. Give the team to Nolan Smith. Let him take over the program until we can find a new head coach. I don't know why. We had 2 weeks before our next game.
After the
perfect opportunity to get him out of there and go searching for other head coaches, or just let our assistants do their thing for the rest of the season. But for whatever reason, our AD just wanted to keep him on the program, keep him as the head coach, and I generally don't understand it whatsoever. We're not going to get any better. It's going to continue to get worse. So I think Sky Clark's been doing what he possibly can. It sucks because Brandon Hatfield had his best game in a Louisville uniform against Kentucky, and we got our ass whooped. Yeah. I am thankful for Cal for at least sparing KP just a little bit, because that could have got ugly real quick.
Way worse.
It could have been like
should have been.
Yes, 100%. But Cal spared him just because they're friends, which I understand that kind of. But yeah, just get him out of there as soon as possible. We need a new head coach. We need to change this immediately.
I want to hear DeRosa, then I'll come back to your Kansas one. DeRosa, Butler, New Year's resolution.
I just want to point out first, you remember in Kenny Payne's pregame presser, he said he just wants to win that game by 1?
He said, and I'm glad you brought that up because we didn't get to talk about it since we were on break. He was asked the day before. He said, I know Cal wants to beat my brains in, but I just want to beat him by 1 point. And the Louisville media, shout out Nick Coffey from cardconnect.com. He went nuts. He goes, wait a minute. Your rival coach said, and you admitted that he wants to come in here, take over your arena, because we expected the majority being Kentucky fans, and beat your brains in. And you don't want to beat his brains back in. You just want to beat him by 1. Brutal.
Someone else go, damn it.
He's content, so as long as he's there, I'm going to enjoy the ride. But they should have fired him before the season. It's definitely a money thing, but that's beside the point. But for Butler, I think it's they don't have. I think they look much better than we expected them to, and definitely much better than they did last year. But they don't have that excellent win yet. Whether it's your win, the best wins are Boise State on a neutral, Penn State on a neutral, good teams, not great teams, and Texas Tech at home, not a great team again. So I think one thing, they need a big win, defend home court, whether it's against a UConn or even a big Big East road game, Q1 games that's top 75 teams. I think that gets down to, I don't know where Seton Hall is in the net, but they'll be fringing around that range, probably end up Q2-ish, but St. John's, who they play coming up. Is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah. That'll be a Q1 game. So I think they need a couple more big wins, defend home court, but keep the same energy level. It's been really refreshing to see. This team, they play hard, man. They don't quit. And if they can keep that attitude in there, they'll steal a couple games. So keep this energy level, defend home court, get a big win, and you'll be dancing for the first time in a while. Big if, but it's possible.
I think the biggest compliment I could pay them is, obviously I took care of the Big East in the ECB preseason magazine, and I wrote about Butler and questioned some of the stuff coming off last year. Knew there was some talent. You know me, I love Jemai Telford. I think the kid's phenomenal. I think the biggest positive thing I can say is at the beginning of the preseason, from the time I wrote that in the magazine, I thought there was no chance in hell to make the NCAA tournament. Now, I think they're a lock for the tournament as long as they don't.
Don't you fucking dare jinx us. Don't jinx me. Dude, I've been here for 4 years and I haven't watched the winning team. Don't jinx this shit.
Time out.
Stop it.
Time out.
Stop it. Hold up. No. I ain't having this.
No, let him cut. Go ahead, Dorsey.
Fine. Take over, Josh. Whatever. I'll mute myself.
You know what? You can believe in the bad jinxes. I'll believe in the opposite. I think they're a solid tournament team as long as they don't have too many bad losses. Like they can't lose to DePaul. They can't lose to some of the shittier teams. And if they can get a quad one, or you'll probably need a couple, but at least one big quad one win, probably a Q1A like a UConn or a Marquette, 100% of the tournament. Great job. Butler is much better than we thought they would be. As far as Kentucky goes,
L word. Lock.
Lock, baby. Lock. Hey, lock it down. As far as Kentucky goes, New Year's resolution, you know what? I've already apologized when DeRosa was on with, I think it might have been the last episode 169. I went on that rant a few episodes ago about Cal's going to screw this up. I'm wrong. I apologize because he is playing 5 out, even with Bradshaw, even with Ugonna, Kingsley, and Yesu. And Kentucky's absolute fun. And I'll debate, argue anybody. You can take my fandom. You can take my non-biased reporter. I don't care. Kentucky's one of the 5 or 6 best teams in college basketball right now. And I think New Year's resolution, I've got 2. Number 1, Reed Sheppard plays more. And I know he's great in his role off the bench, but what he does affects winning more than anybody else, maybe in college basketball. Play him more. And number 2, and I know it's not really on them, but it's kind of a hope for the NCAA to actually do the right thing. Let's get Big Z eligible. Because if you bring that 7'1" guy back, and with his athletic kind of European style guard-like, it fits like a hand in a glove in the 5-out system. I think Cal, just keep playing the way you are. Let's stay healthy. Play Reed more, especially down the stretch, and let's hope Big Z gets back. And I think Kentucky legitimately not only can make a Final Four, but can win title number 9. I 100% believe in that. Peyton, Kansas, resolution.
Hell yeah. At least I can finally talk about a good team now. Kansas, it's pretty easy for them. I got 2. One, the main one, shooting. We need 3-point shooting very badly right now. DeJuan Harris, he's not a quote-unquote shooter, but when he does actually decide to shoot the ball, he hits the majority of his threes. But again, he's more of an assist man. He's not necessarily a shooter. 2 quote-unquote shooters, Johnny Furphy and Nick Timberlake. One of those guys has to step up and start hitting shots coming off the bench. Timberlake had one good game against Yale. He had like 12 points, hit a couple threes. This last game against Wichita State, he was 0 for 5 from 3. I don't understand what's going on with him. I think it's a mentality. I think it's confidence. He's lax that right now. He needs to see a couple shots going in, and hopefully they'll start getting him going. So shooting's my main key for Kansas. My second thing, I want to see more minutes for Jamari McDowell. I love watching this kid play. I think this kid's electrifying coming off the bench. He's a spark plug. He really helped. He came in that Kentucky game, hit 2 big free throws to ice the game right away. Coming in, did not play a single minute before that. Came in, did his thing, hit 2 free throws, iced the game away. We won that game. At Indiana, this kid hit 2 big threes when he was making a run to come back and beat Indiana in Assembly Hall. I think this kid can provide very solid minutes coming off the bench for us. He can be a spark plug, kind of like Sean Jones is for Marquette. I think he can do kind of similar things for Kansas. So those are my 2 main resolutions for my Jayhawks.
I like them, and I think those 2 kind of play into the one I have, which is fine bench play. Kansas has a very weak bench. They've got to have bench play step up. What we'll do now is we'll just fire off some teams. We'll go around the board, rapid fire style. We'll knock some teams out here. The one resolution for each team. We will start back in the Big East. We'll go down to first-time guest on the show here, Sarah. We will start with the Big East team, and we will go with Providence. New Year's resolution for Providence.
Honestly, for Providence, to beat Georgetown. like just destroy them in Providence. That is one game that I will be locked and loaded for. I will be watching it. I don't care what I'm doing. I will make sure that I have, if I'm at work, like ESPN play-by-play is on my phone. Like I am looking at it if I cannot watch it myself. Just because of what happened to the end of last season to this season too. Kim English is doing a great job in kind of finding his footing in Providence already, which, especially with first-time coaches in a program like the Big East, is great to have. You know, it just builds the conference even more. And you know, Ed Cooley, I think he has.
You go ahead and say it. You go ahead and say
I was
it.
like,
You think he's a prick, don't you?
I've
You
interviewed
think
him
he's a
multiple
prick?
times. The video I saw of him kind of going off at some like media people being like, have questions for us too, I think was a little uncalled for. I understand where he's coming from. A little uncalled for how the attitude. He has a little bit of an ego and an attitude, as all coaches do. But I think that I think he came into Georgetown thinking that it was going to be the same level as Providence. I think he had an expectation of like, I just came from Providence. They were doing great. You know, I have to kind of rebuild Georgetown a little bit. Not that they're as bad as DePaul. I'm going to say that much. They're not as bad as DePaul. However, he expected something that he's not getting, and he's getting upset about it and not fixing it. I think he's just kind of letting it stay consistent. So for Providence, Kim English, keep doing what you're doing. Just keep improving.
I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're
I'm
good.
bad about that. I was actually going to agree with you. He's channeling his energy in the wrong spots, I think. DeRosa for Providence, but you're also a Georgetown guy, so you going to let that slide like that? The Providence dig there?
First of all, if Georgetown wins that game by some miracle on the 27th, that would be so funny. That'd be the funniest outcome of the year.
Uproar that would come out of that. Insanity.
I feel like no one wants to admit it, but deep down, if you are not a Providence fan, you should be rooting for Georgetown in that game. You should. It would be so funny if Georgetown won that game. It would just that's Providence's Super Bowl against a team that they should smoke. That isn't very good. If Georgetown, like Jaden Epps hits like 10 threes, Dontrez Styles hits like 7, and Georgetown somehow wins that game, that would be content. Man, yeah. That would be so much fun if Georgetown wins that game. That'd be so funny. So funny. But if I'm Providence, I'll just keep it quick. Point guard play. You need a little bit more out of point guard play. I think Jaden Pierre is good, but he's not great. Turns the ball over a little too much. Very good shooter, but turning it over a little too much. I think they need steadiness out of the point guard position, and they need to win a game away from home. Those are the two for me. They're good. They're a really good
resolution for Providence.
Well, they've kind of like took mine, but I'm going to go ahead and add on to what Sarah was talking about with Georgetown. I just want to see DeRosa suffer more than I'm suffering watching Louisville. I want to see him tweet more on Twitter. So I want to see Providence just continue to just beat up on DeRosa's two teams. They just beat Butler on the 23rd by 10. They got Georgetown coming up. They got 2 games against Georgetown. They still got the return game in, I think, February 10th against Butler at Hinkle Fieldhouse, I believe it is. So I just want to see DeRosa to suffer more. That's what I want to see.
I like what DeRosa said about Providence winning away from home. I actually go the opposite way, and then they should. I think Providence has got to keep the AMP special, win those games at the AMP, and you'll be a tournament team in a good seed line for sure. So let's keep this moving. Let's go to Alabama, and I will start since I'm the SEC guy. Alabama's got all the talent in the world. They can score 150 points in any given night. My New Year's resolution for Alabama is defense. 73rd nationally right now in adjusted efficiency. If they learn how to defend for 40 full minutes, Alabama can be very, very dangerous. They've played a very tough schedule. Not won any of those games really, but a very tough schedule to prepare them for a very good SEC team or SEC play. They can score with anybody in the country, but they've got to learn to defend. If they want to take it to the next level, fix your defense. That's my resolution for Alabama. Wow. We'll just kind of go down from, this way. Would it be counterclockwise? Counterclockwise. So, Sarah?
Oh, okay. See, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia. So it's always hard to, like Alabama.
Right,
in any sport. But yeah, kind of what you were saying defensively. I'm a big loss to Arizona and
Creighton
you're
beat
losing
'em,
against
yeah.
these big teams that you came. I mean, Alabama started out the season strong, and they've always been a top team, especially in the SEC, because the SEC is not really a basketball. It's a football conference
It
more
is.
than it is basketball at some points. Yeah, they need to work on their defense, and they need to make sure that going into conference play that they are able to maintain what they've kind of created and taken lessons from those big losses. Because if they kind of are just going to do the same thing, they're not going to. I mean, they're going to stay fine, because I honestly don't think that SEC basketball teams. They're still building. The SEC basketball is still building, but they just need to stay consistent and make sure that they take away defensive lessons from those big losses.
DeRosa?
Just honestly, it's very simple, but just win some of these competitive games. Like, they were really competitive with Purdue, lost it close, really competitive with Creighton, lost it close, kind of competitive with Clemson, lost it close, kind of competitive with Ohio State, lost it close, kind of competitive with Arizona, lost it close. They don't have anything to show for. Just kind of win some games, win close games. I think that'll happen at some point. The team 2-guard dominant, and they played a gauntlet of a schedule. Just win some of the close ones.
Peyton?
I want to see more out of Wyland Griffin. I think this kid's very talented. I want to see more out of him. He's shooting the ball really well from 38% from this season. He's had a couple good games. He had 19 points against Eastern Kentucky about a couple weeks ago. Played pretty well against Liberty the other night. I want to see more out of him, because I think he can actually help this team in multitude of different ways, offensively and defensively a little bit. But as far as like Josh says, defensive-wise, they definitely need to step up defensively. I 100% agree with that. But I want to see more out of Wyland Griffin.
I like it. We got 2 more. Let's do it rapid fire, because we got to move on. We'll start with DeRosa, and we'll throw a whole ass conference with the exception of Purdue. The resolution for the rest of the Big Ten not named Purdue. DeRosa.
You need some of these teams to emerge. If I'm looking at a Wisconsin, you need them to start winning some big games. Rutgers needs to start playing games at Rutgers. So, like, those are fun. But, like, they just decide to play games in other places in New Jersey and end up losing them. I don't know why they do that, but whatever. You need Wisconsin to emerge. You need Michigan State to start looking better. You just kind of, honestly, if the best thing for the conference as a whole is just have, like, a fairly stark divide. Like, just have, like, the bottom teams be bottom teams, the top teams be top teams. That'll maximize the tournament efficiency, aside from Purdue, who's just going to, I think, kind of cakewalk through this league. Just have some, like, other teams emerge who can emerge. Like, in Ohio State, they look good, but are they really good? We'll see. Same thing with Wisconsin, same thing Michigan State. We'll see. But, yeah, you need some of those big teams to show, like, they're actually good.
Peyton?
I'm actually not going to exclude Purdue out of this conversation. I definitely think they're the class of the field. Obviously, I do think it's going to be a cakewalk through the rest of the Big Ten, but I think the whole conference needs to just step up and march. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Like, let's not forget what happened to Purdue last year, losing the first round to Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, I'm not excluding them out of this equation at all. The whole Big Ten conference has been very, like, mediocre these last couple of years. Outside of, like, one team, like Michigan State got to the Final Four in 2019 or 2019. 2018, because they beat Duke that year. They've had a couple teams, have some good runs here and there, but they're more of a regular season conference. When it comes down to tournament time, they fold. So the whole conference needs to step up and march.
I'm begging, and I've been doing this for 20 years, I am begging a team or two to change the style of play, which would go back into what Peyton's saying in March. Their style of play in the Big Ten is rough, rugged, traditional big men, play through fouls, which is great. But it hurts them so bad come March, because when you get into start playing teams, especially smaller teams, that'll spread you out and go 5 out, and you've spent 2.5 months playing against big uglies down low and physical, they can't hang with it. I'm begging, whether it's an Illinois or an Ohio State or Maryland or Penn State or somebody, to change how the Big Ten has to defend, go more modern, and prepare these teams better for March. Because if not, I don't care how great Purdue is, I'm afraid it's going to be more of the same for the last 20-some years from the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament. Sarah?
like Michael said, a team needs to a couple teams need to emerge. They need to just have those big wins. Purdue lost in the first round. I think they've lost in the first round the past couple of times as well. And that should not be happening. If you're ranked number 1 going into the NCAA conference, why are you losing the first round? Like it's or even number 1, top 5, whatever. You should not be losing in the first round. And like you just said, if you're playing the same style of game for 2.5 months because the conference is all similar sized, and then you come into what they lost to Farley Dickinson, right? It's an entire different kind of team. So I think not only, the teams need to emerge, like Michael said, Michigan State, even Michigan, Wisconsin, AJ Storr, who was on St. John's last year, has been thriving at Wisconsin. So having those teams just kind of build up. I mean, it's been a very even level field, I feel like, conference for a while, the past few years. You have those Michigan State, Purdue, you're throwing those one team out of however many are in the conference now.
Yeah, and then it's 2 through. Then it's 2 through 9 is separated by a game or 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So teams emerging, and also for Purdue to win and move past the first round, please.
Yep. Last one real quick, because we do have to move on, but I just thought of another one real quick. Gonzaga. I will start. To me, Gonzaga is plain and simple, easy. They've got to find scoring. We've never said this about Gonzaga, or at least it's been a long time. They struggle to score the basketball consistently, shoot the ball, score it, however you want to do it. They got to find scoring in a hurry, or else Gonzaga, as crazy it may sound, may find themselves in the NIT and out of the NCAA tournament this year. I do not trust Gonzaga. Gonzaga's got to find scoring. Sarah.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I feel like Gonzaga has been that team that you always expect so much from. And I feel like we haven't seen it from them this season. It's just, you don't really hear about the big Gonzaga games of the big victories. You're hearing it from other teams. You're not hearing it about them. So I think literally just scoring and making sure that, they don't go to the NIT. You guys probably know more than I would. Weird. When the last time they would have been to the NIT, or if they have ever been to the NIT.
They've got, I think it's the second longest streak. Kansas is number 1 as far as making NCAA tournaments. They're at 34 or something. Again, Gonzaga's second. They haven't missed the tournament since 1998, I think. 99?
Yeah.
Something So being consistent, I think that's the biggest thing. They need to win, especially with conference play, win these games and show the dominance in the game too. Show that they are the ones that everyone should be looking at. Because if they don't do that, I don't know. Come March, it'll be interesting.
DeRosa, we've talked about. WCC is pretty weak this year.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, St. Mary's aren't nearly as good as we thought they would be preseason. Your resolution for the Zags, real quick.
Yeah, Santa Clara ain't terrible, but they just lost to Yale at home, so they're not good, and that's probably the second best team. But if I'm Gonzaga, just keep it short and simple. You either got to beat Kentucky in Kentucky, or you got to win the WCC tournament. I think we're getting to that point because if they don't do that, I think there's a world in which they lose 2-3 conference games, and it's just they haven't beaten anybody. They might miss the tournament at that point. And they're the most overrated team in the country right now in my eyes. I don't think they sniff the rankings. I don't see how people rank them. I think it's just because of the brand name. But yeah,
they're
either beat Kentucky or win a WCC tourney.
They're 24th in the new AP poll that came out. In full disclosure, for the ECB poll that's coming out today, I had them out of my ballot. Completely left them off.
I've had them out for weeks.
Yeah. Peyton, Gonzaga, real quick before we move on.
I agree with everything you guys said. You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. They either need to find more consistency. They need to beat Kentucky in Kentucky, which, spoiler alert, ain't happening. They might. I'm telling you right now, it ain't happening. Kentucky's way too damn good for that.
The way that Kentucky scores and the way Gonzaga has lapses in defense, Kentucky might put 100 on them.
It might get ugly. It might be, especially what happened last year with Gonzaga basically running them out of the gym in Spokane. It might get ugly. So they either need to be more consistent, or they just need to see if Drew Timme has any more eligibility left. Because it's bad. I don't understand how the AP voters still have them ranked. I don't understand it. It's actually puzzling to me. But at least we're smart, and we're going to keep them out. Hopefully.
That's right. I didn't vote for him. So let's finish the show off today. We are now, I know conference play has kind of started around the country, but now it's January. It is full-blown conference play from here on out, with the lone exception of like a Kentucky, Gonzaga in February on a one-off. So what we're going to do, Power 6 conferences, we're going to go through them real quick. Who do you think, after we've seen 2 months of the season, who do you think is going to win these conferences that we mentioned? And give me maybe one dark horse, and we'll try to be quick about it because we got to start wrapping up here soon. So we'll start with the ACC. When I look at the ACC this year, to me, there are 3 for sure contenders, and then I'll give you my dark horse. North Carolina, Clemson, Duke. One of those 3 are going to win the conference, and if you put a gun to my head right now, I'm saying North Carolina wins. I'm actually really impressed with how Hubert's bounced back from last year. I think North Carolina wins the ACC. I just think they have experience. They can score. I love the transfers they've got in. Harrison Ingram, I rave about him. I love his build, playing as like a 3-4 man. I think North Carolina is going to win the conference. I think the underdog everybody needs to watch out for is Wake Forest. We talked about Hunter Salas. They're 9-3. They've played a fairly good schedule. They played out in that Charleston Classic around Thanksgiving. Wake Forest is a dark horse that could really cause problems in the ACC this year. So North Carolina is my ACC winner. Wake Forest is my dark horse. We'll go opposite this time. Peyton, ACC.
I think Duke wins the conference. And this is probably not considered as a dark horse because you just mentioned them as one of the contenders that can win. But I really like this Clemson squad. They've had some very good wins this season. They beat Alabama. They beat Boise State. They lost a close game to Memphis. Memphis, very talented as well. I really like this Clemson squad with PJ Hall, stud, absolute stud, can go get you buckets. They got a couple big games coming up here soon. They got Miami on the 3rd, and then they got their big game against North Carolina. That game's going to be fun to watch. So we'll learn a lot about them in these next couple of games against Miami and North Carolina. But I truly believe that if they can get past those, I think Clemson could sneak out and win this ACC conference. But if not, I definitely think they can finish top 3.
DeRosa?
Duke to win it. I think they're missing a little bit of that muscle inside, but this team's really putting it together. They really impressed me against Baylor. They looked really good in that game. And if Mark Missile and Tyrese Proctor can get that spark back, that it seems like they're lacking at times, they can get that back. I think this team could run through this conference, honestly. They're just so talented. And dark horse, here's a team I want to shout out any chance I can for how this man is building this program. Look at Damon Stoudemire and Georgia Tech, man.
I know.
That is a team that was not
right
expecting
now.
anything. And man, Bandongo looks really good. Their freshmen look really good. They play physical. They're tough. He's got a really good recruiting class coming in next year with Jaden Mustafa and Darian Sutton. He's building this program, man. This team is better. They are way ahead of schedule. Damon Stoudemire is a really good coach. They deserve a shout out, man. This team could make the tournament this year, which would be, they're like honestly like right on the bubble and no one's talking about it. This team, I don't expect them to, but even then, making the NIT at this point is a success for this team. Just how bad they were the last few years and how this was looked at as a multi-year rebuild. Stoudemire has them way ahead of schedule, and he's not getting nearly enough love for it.
I already 1-0 in conference play with a win over Duke. Sarah, winner of the ACC and your dark horse.
I'm going Clemson for the winner of the ACC.
Nice.
I think they've had, such improvement this season. They're 11-1, and come conference play, their next few games in conference play, playing North Carolina, it's going to be big games that they need to. If they can win those, they'll be able to win the ACC. And I'm going with DeRosa, Georgia Tech. I got to see them play against Penn State. Very physical team. And very connected on the floor too. That the game went into overtime, but when I was watching them, you could see, the energy that they had. And Georgia Tech has not been that good. No one really expects a lot out of the Yellow Jackets a lot of the time. However, I expect to see them in the NIT.
I love it. Let's go to the Big East, your guys' conference. Sarah, we will come back to you. Winner of the Big East Conference and your dark horse.
See, I want to say St. John's, but I'm not going to. I want to say St. John's. I'm not going to.
If Pitino could win the conference his first year, I will officially crown him the GOAT.
I
will
would be
go.
so happy. You know what? I'm just praying that St. John's can get past the quarterfinals because I've had sat on that garden floor for 2 years in a row and we've lost by 1 and 2 points. I just want to make it to the third day. That's all I'm asking them.
That's
Please,
brutal.
please. That's my manifestation for this year. Them to make it to Friday because I have gone there 2 years in a row and I'm done by the second day. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Marquette again.
Yeah.
They're just so good, and you know, such a connected team. Dark Horse. You know, there's such like staggering differences in the Big East this year. You know what? My dark horse is gonna be St. John's. I'll give it to them because if they can come out and beat these teams, because they almost beat UConn, they were very close. So if they can actually close these games, especially Marquette and Creighton, I could see it.
I love it. DeRosa, Big East.
Yeah, I got Marquette winning it too. I just think they're so connected, and especially if this Klingon injury is long term, I think that really kills UConn. And Creighton's not where I expected them to be. Dark horse to win the thing. Give me Villanova. Honestly, I don't think people are talking about them enough. This roster is incredibly talented. The talent on this team,
coaching
argument that it's the best, most talented roster in the conference. Honestly. I don't know if I trust the coach, but just straight talent. If they're going to find ways to win games, yeah, the coach. I do not trust Coach Neptune.
Sorry, I had something in my throat there.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. It happens to the best of us. I get it. It. You know, but I think this team, honestly, if they're going to play in so many stupid close games that if they just kind of win them all, it could happen. I could see them winning this league. I wouldn't predict it by any means, but I think they could finish higher than people would have overreacted to after they lost to Penn and Drexel. Those are bad losses.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'll go Villanova, and I will hope someone else is the team I'm thinking of.
I love it. Peyton.
Winner of the conference is definitely Marquette. They're the only team in that conference I don't think have any glaring issues at this point in time. You know, Creighton, point guard play, I'm questioning that. UConn, health issues with Klingon, have questions about that. Other than that, Marquette, I think, is a really solid team. They got a good bench, great starting five. Iguodala is a pro. Tyler Kolek's my favorite player in the country to watch. Love that dude. Sean Jones is probably the fastest player in the country on the ball. I really like this Marquette squad, so I think they win the conference. Dark horse, it's definitely not Georgetown. It's not Butler. You know what? I'll go with St. John's. Just because I love Rick Pitino. I mean, he's my dude. Loved him even when he was coaching at Kentucky. And then obviously what he did for Louisville. Still have a coach. You give him time, he's going to make some shit happen. And all he needs to do is just make an NCAA tournament, and I would never count him out. And if he can win this conference, go.
I love it. We're going to go with Marquette sweep with the Klingon injury, Marquette's offense, and UConn's good in the regular season to drop 2 or 3 that they shouldn't lose anyways. So that'll give Marquette enough cushion. Marquette wins. Dark horse, I really want to take Butler. I really want to take Butler.
I was going to, but I didn't because I'd be the
I really want to take Butler badly. I also want to take St. John's. I'm going to go Butler to be different because I do think that right time, right place, if they could get a win or two against like the top level teams of Marquette, Connecticut, I could see them pulling an upset off here. So I'll say Butler is my dark horse. Let's move on to the Big 12 because we got a couple more we got to get through. Big 12, Peyton, this is your conference. I will let you take first volley. I know who you're going to say is winning. Who's going to be your dark horse?
Well, just in case nobody's watching the video, don't know me. Obviously, Kansas is winning this conference like they have this last 20 years or whatever it was. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's getting too much at this point. So Kansas definitely wins this conference like I predicted in the magazine. And my dark horse, just like I predicted in the magazine, is going to be TCU. I think Emmanuel Miller is a first-team All-American in the Big 12 this year. I think he's averaging 17 points right now. I think he's second or third behind Hunter Dickinson. Actually, I think he's second behind Hunter Dickinson in scoring points per game for the Big 12 Conference this year. And he can get out, defend. Love what I'm seeing out of TCU and Emmanuel Miller. So TCU is my dark horse, and Rock Chalk Jayhawk as always, baby.
DeRosa, Big 12.
First of all, we can just get this out of the way. TCU didn't win that Georgetown game, and they need to win a big game at some point. I actually like this team.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the
I like this
record
team
and
quite a
it.
bit. I like this team quite a
They
bit.
won.
But yeah, they didn't win that game. I liked all the wings they have.
Really?
I think that defensive versatility is big. But winner Kansas. Actually, not fuck you, Peyton. Winner BYU. Fuck you. That is the only reason I'm saying that is because fuck you. I don't actually agree with it.
No,
you.
no. Get the fuck out of
Dark
here.
horse. Give me Baylor. Honestly, their guards really high level. Ray J. Dennis, Langston Love, Jaden Nunn, Jacoby Walter will be in the NBA next year. Really good guards. Yves Messi will be in the NBA next year too. That dude can defend his ass off. He is so versatile. If an NBA team, I feel like he's like the one guy in this draft class that's like going to be a sleeper and could actually be like really good down the line. I really like his potential. If they can figure it out defensively, because they are a bad defensive team right now, if their guards can start stopping dribble drives, they could actually win this league. That wouldn't stun me. I honestly think they have more of a chance at winning it as than BYU does. But I said BYU. Fuck you, Peyton.
Sarah, hopefully you don't say fuck you to anybody else.
So I'm going against both of them. I'm going Houston.
Oh, there you go. I'll just
Because
say that's what I'm
honestly,
going with.
well, one, I hate Kansas too. I hate
Whoa.
Kansas. I've dealt with
Who
them.
invited them here?
I've seen them. I just don't like them. I have my reasoning. I do have my reasoning. I will tell you guys
Curious.
after, but I have my reasoning for not liking them.
I want to know.
I think Houston is. I mean, if they can win those big games, if they can beat Kansas, if they can, beat Baylor, but just make sure that they have those wins. I see no reason, and I'm gonna go BYU as my dark horse. I feel like if they can continue what they're doing right now, I don't see why they couldn't overtake Houston at one point.
Sarah, we will team up because I think Houston wins as well. LJ Cryer coming in from Baylor gave them the scoring punch that they absolutely needed. They were always great defensively. They're number one in adjusted defense right now. They got the 17th best offense. Houston wins the conference first year in. Dark horse, I do think BYU comes down to earth in this conference because it's going to be brutal. Look at the overall records right now through non-conference play. 13-0, 12-1, 12-1, 10-2, 11-2, 12-1, 10-2, 10-2, 11-2, 10-2, 9-3, and then only two teams with a losing record in Oklahoma State and West Virginia. This is a brutal conference, probably the number one conference in college basketball for the second year in a row, especially with the additions. My dark horse is Oklahoma. The way they defend, the way they keep games close and grind it out, Oklahoma has a legitimate shot to win this conference or finish top 2 or 3. I really like what Oklahoma has right now. Let's go on to the Big Ten. Listen, we're all going to say Purdue. Anybody got any objections to Purdue?
No.
Okay, so let's just say dark horse to keep this moving. For me, the dark horse in this conference, man, that's a lot of mediocre teams. Man, this is a lot of mediocre teams.
Okay, I can go.
I'll say it. Northwestern. Dark horse.
Oh,
Northwestern.
boo-boo-hooey. Let's go.
Boo booey. They've got a
Oh, yeah.
star. When they get hot, they can absolutely scorch you from 3, and they can spread teams out, sort of a modern style. I know it sounds crazy. Northwestern's my dark horse. Whoever can go next, I don't care.
Give me Wisconsin.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love it.
That's a good.
Love it.
I mean, like I said before, AJ Store, which honestly threw me. He was St. John's last year, did really good minutes.
Yeah.
When he chose Wisconsin, I just remember being like, "You chose
Yes.
Wisconsin? Like that's interesting." But he's been thriving there, so I see if he can keep doing what he's doing, especially with the team, I can see that.
I love it.
Oh man, I mean, dark horse in this conference is really difficult to say.
A lot of
Funny
mediocre.
enough, a lot of mediocre. I don't know, do so here you want to team up here? Like what? You want to go in Nebraska or something? The Cornhuskers? Like, well, what you thinking? Because I don't know.
I'll go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ohio State. I actually think this
Oh.
team, like, they could win this league. If it's not Purdue, I feel like it is Ohio State to me. You look at the guards, Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale can both go for 30 on any given night. Those dudes can score, man. Jamison Battle's a perfect role player for this team, not in the sense of like he's coming off the bench, anything like that, because he's definitely not. But he's like a good like secondary, tertiary option, sit in the corner, gonna hit threes, long. Just gonna be annoying. They need a little more inside. Akpara and Zed Key aren't giving you a ton. You need more there, but They got the guards to compete in this league, man. Those two guards, they can go for 30 any given night. They both go for 30. You are not touching them. Those two guards can hoop, dude. So give me Ohio State. I think they will finish second in this league.
Oh, yeah,
We will see Ohio State later in the year too, by the way. We will be there for what was it? Oh, it was the Maryland game. We'll be back in Columbus for the Maryland game. Yep.
I do got an answer, and I'm not too confident about it, but I like the coach. They just can't shoot with shit, and who's high on them? Hell fucking no. Michigan State. What the fuck? Hell no.
Well, you said they can't shoot very well, so I thought you were going to go Indiana.
No, Michigan State.
Half the teams in this league.
I'm going Michigan State. Tom Izzo, they still got talent. If they can just figure out hit a couple of shots here and there, maybe learn how to defend more. I mean, they beat the shit out of Baylor about a couple of weeks ago. It was very impressive. Beat them by like 20 plus. You can't go against Tom Izzo, so I'll go with Michigan State, I guess.
Let's move to the Pac-12. Again, I feel like it's kind of the same as the Big Ten. Was everybody going to go with Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do dark horse. And I've loved this team from the preseason. I'm still high on them. They had 2 losses, but one of them turned out to be a pretty damn good team. This team shooting 41% from 3, number 28 in offense, number 27 in defense, and they have got studs. Tristan Da Silva, Eddie Lampkin came in from TCU. They've got size. They can score. They can defend. They rebound well. They're 32nd in the country in offensive rebounds, and they don't give them up. Colorado is a problem. If there's one team in that conference that's going to go toe-to-toe with Arizona and win that conference from them, it will be Colorado, and that is their next game on the road in Tucson on Thursday. So we're going to get a head-to-head matchup real early. Give me Colorado as my dark horse. I think this team is criminally underrated.
Yep, that's exactly my answer as well. I mean, I wrote about Colorado in the magazine. I think they're very underrated. They got a legit squad. Cody Williams is a 5-star. He's starting to play well here lately. Tristan Da Silva is a phenomenal player. They got the talent. They got the continuity with the roster. I definitely think they can take the crown of the Pac-12 in this final season of the Pac-12 conference.
Sarah, you said Colorado as well, I think I heard.
Yeah, I was going to do Colorado too, because I feel like you have so many teams, but Colorado's kind of been like hiding underneath. Just kind of waiting to see if they're going to emerge. And them playing Arizona, I feel like if they can beat Arizona, they'll be able to make some big moves and later on.
I love it. And DeRosa.
Yeah, I actually don't really love this Colorado team.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
I'm lower on them than most. I know Chris would want me to say Utah, but I think because I talked to him too much, I feel like they, at least in my very little bubble, they feel like to be the second consensus number 2/3 team in the conference, and I don't want to go with them for a dark horse. And I don't love this Colorado team. I think they're good. I think they'll finish as a 6 seed in March, and they'll be a team I'll probably look to fade if they get a hot 11. Give me Oregon as a dark horse.
That was my next pick.
Yeah, if you can get they get Mookie Cook back. They have been really hurt this season. They're starting in the front court. Their center, I forget his name. He averaged 14 points a game, 14 minutes a game. Minutes at Stetson last year. He's being forced to start at Oregon right now. I think it's Muhammad Diarra. I definitely butchered that, but if they can you're getting Mookie Cook back in the front court. That's really going to help. You can put him next to Kwame Evans, who's really good. Jackson Shelstead as a freshman. That kid is a dog. If you haven't watched him play, that kid is a dog. He is filthy. Oh, my God. Out of West Lynn. Shout out Chael Sonnen.
Yes, sir, baby.
The West Lynn gangster.
Would understand that one.
I love it.
Oh, man, I love you. Give me them, Oregon. When you get Nate Biddle and N'Faly Dante healthy, N'Faly Dante is an all-league talent, 100%. When he is healthy, if he can come back this season, I have no idea what his injury status is. They've been quiet on that. Nate Biddle, really good at stretching the floor, 7 feet tall. If they can get those guys back quick. They went 2-0 against the USC and UCLA. You can get those guys back. This team could actually cause some problems. They got talent, man. If those guys are operating at all cylinders, they got talent.
That Twin Tower look when they were healthy, game number 1 when they played Georgia to open the year up. Biddle, amazing at 7 foot, stretching the floor. I do love that Oregon pick. I agree, if they're healthy. Let's finish this out. Let's start rounding the episode out. Go to the SEC. I think it is, of all the conferences, the most wide open, because I think there's like 7 or 8 teams that could legitimately win this conference. There's so much talent in the SEC this year. You guys know who I'm going to say, and I didn't say it preseason. I did not, because I had my questions. I thought we'd be good, top 4. But after seeing 12 games, they're going to lose a couple. They're too young. They're going to lose a couple like they did to UNC Wilmington. But if Kentucky continues on this path of this offense and the defense continues to get better, that is my one concern. But hot damn, the way they score the ball, and they have 8 guys who can really play and contribute. Kentucky's winning the SEC this year. And my dark horse, I said it in the magazine, you're going to think I'm crazy with all these good teams. I still think maybe not to win the conference, but to finish top 3 or 4, Georgia. Everybody laughed when they started off sluggish. They lost to Oregon. They lost a couple. They're 10-3 right now, and they're getting better each game. Georgia's still my dark horse. They're going to really mess some people up in the SEC this year. Kentucky wins. Georgia, my dark horse.
Kentucky wins. Even though I don't want to pick that. I mean, it's going to happen, I believe. Kentucky wins the conference. Dark horse for me, I think Auburn.
I love it.
I think
Love
Auburn,
it.
they've had some good wins this season. They beat USC. They beat the living dog shit out of Indiana about a month ago, or at the early beginning of the month. I think Auburn, with Johnny Bloom leading them, they got good guard play. I think Auburn can get it done. I just think they need to be more consistent, and I really like this Auburn squad.
Aiden Holloway's a stud. Sarah.
Stud.
You know what? I was surprised when he said Georgia. I'm not gonna lie, because
I wrote about them. They're really talented. If they can figure it out, they are really talented.
I was gonna say, I don't want to say Kentucky. I'm gonna go with Auburn instead,
Come on,
because you
Sarah.
have to look at
Come
even
on.
previous seasons, just like how they can build during conference play. So if they can continue to build, dark horse is gonna be Tennessee. No, it's a little there, but if they can, I mean, they lost to those big teams during preseason. If they are able to take down, or even a close game to Kentucky, if they're able to beat Auburn, if they're able to keep at that level, beating Georgia would be huge too. I'm going Tennessee.
Tennessee's one problem is still the same thing they've had for years, is their scoring.
Yeah.
They're so great defensively. It's that
If
scoring.
they can work on that
lull.
offense,
Yeah, it's the
if they can
offense.
become an offensive and defensive team, they'd be unstoppable.
Yep.
If they can finally figure it out. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, but that's my dark horse.
DeRosa, finish this
I'm
thing out
going-
for us.
Yeah, I'm going Tennessee winning this league. Dalton Connect. The dude is a hoopa man. Yeah. Dark horse. I was gonna say Auburn. This team, I looked at them. I had them 9th in the preseason. I remember this one in the SEC. And my analysis of them, I watched them in the first game. I think I said like they aren't very deep. They don't have like a ton of like excellent wings. I love Aiden Holloway. I love Janae Broom. I want to see if they have more. I watched them in the first game and I'm like, holy shit, I was wrong. That was like I was just bad. Like I was just with other teams. Some teams I got wrong. Like they're just things didn't pan out the way I thought they would, and it's like okay, I'm okay with that. With Auburn, I was just wrong. Like just straight up. Like the wings, they have so many different wings. They have so much length.
Denver
you guys are
Jones
doing
coming in
well.
from Florida International as a 3-point shooter has
Yeah.
helped for me. And then Dylan Cardwell to come in when Janae Broom's in foul trouble or needs a break. He's been so physical on the inside.
100%. But since you guys already said Auburn a couple times, I'm gonna go with a much greasier dark horse. Give me Florida. Good guard.
Love it.
I thought
Walter
about that.
Clayton, Zion Pullen. Oh my God, Will Richard, Riley Kugel, really good
Walter
guard.
Clayton.
Yeah, Walter Clayton, dude. Walter Clayton's so good. They're getting they got good front court pieces. Micah Henlogton, Tyrese Samuel. They've been all right. Like, look, if they can find a way to make it work, I think there's a chance. They have a very high ceiling, very low floor in games. But I still can't believe they lost the UVA game. I was on the right side of that one. Florida's so much better than UVA.
They're going to get a test Saturday
Mississippi
night.
there too.
Well, with Tolu Smith just
Yeah.
coming back, yeah.
Yeah.
Florida, Kentucky, this upcoming Saturday night opens SEC play up in Florida, in Gainesville.
Ooh.
Great test for both clubs. We're going to find out a lot about Kentucky, first true road game, and Florida, an opportunity to start the SEC playoff against one of the favorites, if not the outright favorite to win the conference. That's a great game Saturday night. Everybody needs to pay attention to. But I know this is a longer episode than normal. We haven't recorded in 2 weeks. We've got special new guests on with us. We've got a lot to talk about. So we hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you to the people who watched along through the whole hour and almost 50 minutes. But we appreciate the hell out of it. Before we get out of here, Sarah, you're the new guest here. Anything you got coming up that you want to plug, let the peoples know.
Definitely St. John's game's coming up. Taking photos for them. Be taking some photos for Butler too. Getting some of our old player posh some photos. But yeah, my Twitter handle's at the bottom. I'll be tweeting from the floor. So if you see someone tweeting, tis me.
That's right.
Tis me.
She will be in the Cracker Jack box known as Carnesecca, talking about Butler and St. John's. Sarah, we've loved having you on. You have an open invite anytime. Seriously, we'll talk to you once we end this stream. But for episode 170, for all of us here, for those who couldn't make it today, and everybody here at ECB, Happy New Year. We hope 2024 is your best year yet. And thank you for listening to this or watching it if you followed along on the YouTube, Twitter, or the Facebook. Download this when it comes out. Leave a 5-star review, all that fun stuff. But until episode 171 on Thursday, Happy New Year, guys, and we will catch you down the road.